This is the state of my living room right now because I've emptied everything from those shelves. And there's just all these books, recycling, and books. Which actually, now I'm looking at it, probably doesn't seem that bad, and they do have an order. But basically, this Captain is a paid actor. You can probably see in some of my videos, I have like this background here of books, and I have this bookshelf, right, which was, well, it doesn't matter where it was. It's basically just around the corner from where it is now. But I decided I didn't like it that because it's in front of a window, which you can probably hear now. It probably sounds like I'm in the street because I'm sure this place is not double glazed. I'm like, but basically I wanted to do a little change, which means also I had like poetry here, I think, and then some other books here. That I'm going to swap around, so the poetry is going to go here. I want to see if I can put my plant on this. I got this gorgeous plant from a, oh my god, words fail me, from a kind of like lane market. It's the one that I mentioned in my last vlog. Oh god, I'm all over the place. Hello and welcome to the August vlog. I think today is actually the 2nd of August, it's Friday, I'm off work, and yes, I do have some plans for today that involve going to the library and doing some admin-y stuff, but then last night I decided that I wanted to finally do this thing that I thought of like 3 days ago, and now I'm doing it. And the kind of person that I am, in order to start something like this, I just had to take all the books off, because then when I walked into this living room this morning, I completely forgotten I'd done this, and I was like, oh no. But then that means I'm gonna do it. So yeah, that's what we're going to do, trying to organise some books and just try and get the space a little bit more like how I want it, because there were a couple of things that I want to purchase over the next couple of months, which means like I need to rearrange things around for space anyway, so this is part of that process, and I just feel like once I do this it will actually kickstart me getting the other things. So at the moment I've been like, oh well, I haven't really got the space for it, whereas now if I kind of arrange the books I can start. And also what I'm hoping is that I will be getting rid of some books in this process, so let's see. But I haven't actually finished the July vlog, so I think I need to add in some of the other clips I've taken over the month and actually just film the ending for it, because I don't think there's a lot of clips for that one. But welcome to this August one, and yeah, let's see what August brings. I actually can't believe it's August. It's crazy. Like, I just feel like I can't believe it at all. So yeah, but welcome to the August vlog. I have not checked in a while, so I thought I'd talk about the 2 books that I'm currently reading, because I feel like I haven't spoken about A Flat Place, or maybe I have, I don't recall. But I was just reading a little bit more of it this morning. I'm on page 189. I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to get myself a copy of this. Love it so much. This is one of the books that was long listed. I'm not sure if it was shortlisted for the Gelac Prize. It was also, I think, long listed for the Women's Prize for non-fiction. And I'm loving it so much. I'm loving it so much because there's so much in it that I relate to, but as well as like talking about nature and like finding kind of flat landscapes within the UK, she's also talking about her childhood. She's also talking about her diagnosis of CPTSD. The way I have to go through that in my head is insane. And I think she's just a really good writer. I like the way she kind of describes the different things that she's coming across in nature, and I think to be a nature writer you have to be really good at using like adjectives, because otherwise people aren't really going to understand why you love the places that you're exploring, right? You have to be able to sell it in a way to them that's not just like this green thing or this flat thing. So I'm really liking this, and I'm really just liking the way she's exploring kind of her emotions, and she describes it as a sort of like flatness. So it's that kind of link between that and then the landscapes that she's exploring. So really enjoying that. I'm also reading a short story collection at the moment. I feel like, well, I've got another short story collection as well to read, but this I think was recommended by Goodreads, and I don't mind a short story collection every now and then. So this is written, well, I want to say that she's a Ghanaian writer, I'm just assuming from her surname. But when I read over the kind of blurb of what this book would include, I was like, oh, those sound like interesting short stories. I always feel like short stories seem to always kind of involve, well, at least the one that I read, they were all about like body horror, or they just involve some, and this one kind of just involves some sort of like bits of magic in it, and that's what I feel from a lot of the short stories that collections that I've read. I've not read that many, and I feel like the last time I read one was probably about 2 years ago. This one is quite nice. A lot of it, clearly for me at least, seems to be set in like Africa. I feel like a couple of stories have specifically mentioned Nigeria. One story in here is about people being like grief workers and mathematicians, and they calculate the kind of like price of people's grief, and are able to like look at someone and calculate or see their grief, but also just calculate what it takes to take that away, and that's like their purpose. I'm like, that's that's amazing, you know. So I'm really enjoying this collection so far. I say really enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be a 3-star read for me, because I am like finding all the stories different and fascinating, and I like it. So behind here I have a stack of books from the library, which I believe I haven't shown, so I'm going to quickly show them. And then actually one other book I need to talk about is The Crooked House by Agatha Christie. I listened to this as an audiobook and I liked it. It's actually one of those that I was listening to it and halfway through I knew who the murderer was, not because I'd like sussed it out. The person who I actually thought was the murderer, I mean, in some cases could also be the murderer, but not the murderer that we were looking for initially in the book. But I'd listened to the kind of podcast episode about this on All About Agatha, and it's one of the only kind of books in which Agatha has like made someone like a killer, which she hasn't done in other previous books. So as I kept on listening to it, I was like, actually I know this one, because I remember listening to bits and bobs and hearing one of the characters speak. I was like, yeah, okay, it be you. But that still was a really good listen, and I believe there's like either an Amazon or ITV adaptation of it, so I'm going to try and watch that. I'm not sure what books I have shown, because I do remember showing The Relentless Moon, which I still haven't picked up, right? So I'm going to show like these ones here. The first one is A Soul of a Woman by Isabel Allende. I've read another book by Violetta by her, which I really enjoyed. It is set through, I think, at the beginning of the Spanish flu and ends right at the beginning of the coronavirus. And it is a fictional story, but absolutely brilliant, translated brilliant. And the reason I'm actually reading this is because I have a story graph kind of like challenge, which is to read books from certain countries, and I think this falls under Chile for me. And then after this I really need to get my butt into gear and start reading the books for that. I think it's only like 12 and I've read one so far, so I think this will be the second, so there's still 10 more to go. Another book that's from the Jack Price challenge is, I say challenge, it's not a challenge, is A Pebble in the Throat. Again, not sure if this ended up being shortlisted or not, but it was definitely on the long list. And this used to be called A Glasgow Girl. I think, no, the paperback version, sorry, is called A Glasgow Girl. This is the hardback version. I've got Fledgling by Octavia Butler. I finished reading Parable of the Sower. It wasn't my favourite, but the reason I'm going to say that, please, like, people don't kill me, is because the trope that it is not something that I enjoy, so I knew going into it that I wasn't going to like love this, and I'm grateful that Octavia wrote it because I loved her writing, but I wasn't blown away by it. All of the things they were doing, I was like, yes, this is to be expected, just going on the run and just encountering all these people. I'm not here for it. But you know, it has similar tropes to it as the one in Mara and Dan by Doris Lessing, and I did enjoy Mara and Dan. But yeah, Parable of the Sower wasn't for me, but I'm going to read Fledgling because I want to read everything that she has written. Another book that I picked up, you can't really see that, is Sound Healing. I spoke about this book in a video that I made at the beginning of the year talking about non-fiction reads that I definitely wanted to read this year, and I know I just need to, again, get my butt into gear and start reading some of those, because I think I kind of started strong and then I forgot about it, but this is a non-fiction book about sound healing. And then there is this book, The Best Way to Bury Your Husband. I feel like this was a good read, book you may like kind of thing, but if it's in the same kind of vein of How to Kill Your Family, like, I'll enjoy it. So yeah, I thought, why not? So those are the books I have so far. I also have Butter reserved at the library, and I know it's going to come through in the next couple of weeks. That's really exciting, but I have a lot of fiction books to read, which is really exciting. But yeah, that's all for now. checked in a while, but it is the end of August now. I very briefly wanted to talk about 2 books that I finished reading. So this is a novella actually, and it's called Fawcett by Claire Keegan. I can't remember the name of the other Claire Keegan book, I'll put it here, that everyone always talks about, but I've also heard a couple of people mention this and say how really lovely it is, and I just thought this might be a nice way to introduce me to her work. So I think I was just flicking through things like the catalogue my library had available. I'm trying to think, something brought this into my orbit, I'm just not exactly sure what, but finished this. I did enjoy it. I thought it was really nice, a wonderful introduction to her writing. I can kind of see what her writing style is like going to be like based on, oh, that book is called Small Things Like These. I can see kind of what her writing style is going to be like, and it could be a hit or miss for me. I think it very much just depends on the actual like content of that book, so we'll see. But yeah, for a little small novella, I thought this was interesting. It's about a girl that is taken to, I believe it's probably like her uncle or something like that. But basically it just seems like that her own home is quite overcrowded. So for a short period of time, she lives with some relatives, and it is just about like the kind of like warmth and joy that she finds there that's not present in her own home. So just really nicely written, and you could just really feel like this girl beginning to kind of like prosper, and then she must return home, and you see what that difference is like as well. This book came as a surprise to me, so this is The Best Way to Bury Your Husband. I was definitely expecting a very kind of, you know, easy, and it wasn't an easy read, but just a very kind of light plot. But this book focuses on 4 women, so Sally, Ruth, Samira and Janie, and it says here they have a story, they all have a breaking point, and they all have husbands to dispose of. This book focuses on domestic violence, and this takes place during the COVID-19 lockdown, where we know in the UK at least, but I think it was the same for the US, where rates of domestic violence went up, and these 4 women you know, hit their breaking point in their marriage, and they killed their husband and had to dispose of the bodies, and that is how they get to know each other, and that is how they build a friendship. And it's just like obviously one of those books where some bits you read, you're like, that would not happen. But we're not here to like find holes in the story that deals with such serious topics. We get the story from perspective of the character named Sally. She is our first person that we know to kill her husband, and then she kind of meets the other women. What is so nice about this book is really her focus on how Sally feels, and you can really see how Sally moves from kind of this place of like self-blame to thinking, okay, well, I can make improvements in my life, to back to self-blame and all of these little things. And I think it was a really good thing for the author to do, because these things aren't linear. You don't go through a process of being severely abused for years. In her case, she had children with this man, her children are grown up, to killing this person, to just being like, woohoo, I'm free. It's a back and forth process. And what I also liked about in this book is there is, so Sally and her friend Janie are both white women, and then Ruth is a woman from the Caribbean, I believe, and then Samira is a woman from Pakistan. And at first when I was reading this, I was like, oh, okay, they did a diversity reader or whatever, you know, they threw some diversity, I'm here for it, kind of leaning on some stereotypes, but you know, when you read the ending of this book and the kind of career that the author has had and why she chose to include the character she does, I'm like, I'm here for it actually, because actually reading the kind of end section about the research that she did into kind of the rates of domestic violence increasing and just her background, I'm just like, oh, what a wonderful way to kind of like put that like narrative out there, put what you've learned out there, but also just make sure you're including the like diversity within domestic violence, because yeah, it's not always attributed to one group. But if we're talking about the contents of the book itself, I thought like some bits were funny, most of it was just really sad, but you could just see that there was such growth for these women, but you could also see the lengths that they were willing to go to protect their children. And you know, a lot of them stayed because of their kids, they didn't know what to do, and it just really shows you how kind of like that, well, I say how friendship can really help to, I guess, help you out of a dire situation. But that's all I will say on that. It is the end of August now, so I am going to do my August stats, but I'll do them in another clip. But yeah, I didn't read as many books as I wanted to this month. I just felt like towards the end of the month it just petered out, but we'll talk more about that in the next clip. Hello, I am here to finally wrap up the August vlog. So in August I read 6 books, average time to finish 9 days. I'm just putting the stats here, I'm just looking at them here. but you can see kind of the moods, which the orange one is emotional, the kind of greyish one is dark, and the green one is reflective. Again, things I never pay attention to. Also sticking up the pace in which they have classified the books under, so you've got the majority being medium, and then 2 of them being fast. And then in terms of page numbers, most of the books I read were under 300 pages, with 2 of them being between 200 and 499. Audiobook length, under 8 hours, and then the split of fiction versus non-fiction. As you can see, fiction comes out on top, and then we've got 1 non-fiction read. I believe that non-fiction read was A Flat Place, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then here I'm going to stick up the genres for you. Again, not something I pay much attention to, but it's always nice to see where that lies. And then if we're talking about format, these things, they can never really change. Print is always the main one, 5 books read in print, and then 1 audiobook listened to, and that audiobook of course was an Agatha Christie, and that is The Crooked House, and I did speak about that in the previous clip. So if we look at the average rating for August, we have a 3.25, and it just very much varies. We've got a 2-star, a 2.5 star actually, 3, 3.5 and 4. So it was a varied month. I love to say, like, my reading has definitely slowed down considerably, like even for, I believe, I mean, I'm filming this in September, right? I don't even think I've completed 1 book. Oh no, I have. Okay, I have finished 1 book, but yeah, maybe I'm in a reading slump, I don't know. I don't find that I'm not enjoying the books, but yeah, I haven't just been that drawn to reading. But that was August. August was a very nice month, and I mean nice in terms of just like life and everything else that goes on. So that was good. And yeah, we're in September, and I definitely need to knuckle down on some of the reading kind of challenges that I've set myself, because I will blink and it will be December, and I just don't want to be scrambling in that final like month or so. I'd just rather scramble in the last 3 months. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in another one. Bye.